Okamura-kun said before that this bento lacked spirit. But among all the bento laid out here today, there wasn't a single one with as much spirit as this one. This meal that she made for me yesterday in such a good mood, though it looked like she was in a bad one. I won't let it end with this slander. Could you wait just a moment? When I began to speak in a low voice, the expressions of all the members of the club changed. Mion clicked her tongue. This man was baring his fangs at the last moment again. My bento was defeated because it lacked spirit. That's how you explained it. Am I wrong, Okamura-kun? Okamura-kun, who had suddenly been placed in the spotlight, looked flustered for a moment, but immediately he stammered in reply that I was right. How do you measure spirit? By difficulty? By effort? By sweat or tears? By its manifestation? Then how would you rate these burns that are still on my hands?
Wow, Keiichi-kun, those are oil burns?
Great. The burn marks from when I almost caused a fire yesterday looked just like I was having a ton of trouble cooking. I could clearly tell that the classroom was forced to acknowledge the effort I put into it.
I see. To turn your failures at cooking due to lack of skill into scars of hard work instead. As I thought, I cannot falter around this man.
That's right. I lack skill. I'm so bad at cooking that my grandstanding yesterday was pitiful. But I didn't run away. I fought. And I delivered these results. Is that not spirit? What do you think?
Rena wants to acknowledge it. Nobody can keep on going if their defiant spirit doesn't get valued.
The girls in the class started to nod in agreement. Okay, the tables are turning. But Tomada-kun and Okamura-kun, bought out by the objects of their unrequited affection, weren't about to lose either. They shifted to the counterattack, clearly exceeding the price they were paid.
I see. I understand your feelings, Maebara-san. However, if spirit was all that mattered in cooking, the world wouldn't need chefs.
That's right. If a chef brought you burned steak and said they put their spirit into it and tried hard, would you pay them? You wouldn't, would you? It's the same thing.
That's right. That's how it goes. The male students took Tomada and Okamura's side. Gah, they did have a point. What about consideration? Even if you did get a totally black steak, if I knew how much the mother who made it struggled, I would eat it. I would eat it all! This time, the female students in the class took my side. Good, now we're even.
Besides, a bento is a refinement of one's love given form.
It only means something when the other person feels that way. Does your bento make us feel that way, Maebara-san? No, it doesn't make me feel that way.
You're mean!
The girls in the class began to boo loudly at his remark. Now even Okamura-san was panicking.
Order. Will the spectators please refrain from making remarks?
Your Honor, in order to prove how much of my spirit has gone into this bento, I call Miss Ryuugu Rena, an authority in the culinary arts, to the stand.
Rena thinks this bento has spirit in it. It might be rather artless in places. But I think cooking isn't just about outward appearances.
The girls in the class again gave cries of support as they all applauded. In response, all the men in the class began to boo.
Your Honor, the opinions of Maebara-san and Ryuugu-san are extremely sentimental and aren't in following with common sense. They are unsuitable to use as evidence.
Order. The prosecution's objection is sustained. Go ahead.
Let's replace the bento in question with the birthday present, for example. Let's say on my birthday, I, Tomada, received a hand-knitted sweater, and he, Okamura, received a bookstore gift certificate for 10,000 yen.
That felt strangely real. Was it actually just an example?
Common sense dictates which of them has the spirit. It is, of course, the hand-knitted sweater. If we went back to the bento, this would be the handmade side dishes. And the gift certificate, which is nothing more than money, allows you to buy things. In other words, it's the same as simple, meaningless canned goods.
The boys and girls all began to argue amongst themselves about presents. They were all talking about what they received as presents in the past. Damn, Tomura-kun. He changed the subject to something that could easily grab everyone's attention. Not bad. I'll lose the initiative at this rate. Objection! This matter regards the spirit put into the bento. It is entirely different from birthday presents, as they are each unique situations.
Overruled. Will the prosecution please continue?
Damn.
Now then, what's important here is the fact that the spirit of the giver and the spirit of the receiver are totally different. Between the handmade sweater that looks a little bit askew and the 10,000 yen bookstore gift certificate placed here before your very eyes, which would you say is the better choice? The gift certificate, right? It's 10,000 yen. 10,000! Can you calculate how many comic books you could buy with that? You could instantly complete a full collection if it was around 10 volumes long. Dozens of happy, humorous, slightly perverted manga. The bliss of your soothed heart can't be compared to the sweater. And then I faded from...
The boys unanimously praised that with applause. Materialistic brats. Grr. But all guys that age are like that. Even I would choose the gift certificate over the sweater in that case. Hey, wait. Weren't you guys the ones who said it was about love, spirit, and taste right at the start? Since when did taste trump all? That's the stance they were taking now.
I believe this has demonstrated that the spirit of the giver and the spirit of the receiver have no causal relationship. Yes, no matter how much Maebara-san struggled to make this bento, that cannot enter into consideration for the rest of us on the receiving end.
Mere sophistry, Tomura-kun. It has plenty of spirit. Whether that gets through or not is the receiver's problem.
That's right! Boo!
Taste is more important!
Enemy of women!
What was that, Ugly?
Ugh, now the courtroom is in chaos. But I can't allow myself to lose. And not only to avoid the punishment game, but also to protect Satoko's honor.
Now then, do the defendants have a response to give?
Slowly and strongly, I nod and step up to the dais. Tomura-kun, Okumura-kun, do you two really think you can beat me with mere words? The prosecution just said that we should value the gift without basing it on the spirit of the giver. Correct. At some point I began speaking formally.
Yes, that's right. No matter how much you labored to make that bento, that labor should not factor into our grading.
Then I have a question for the prosecution. If I, Maebara, were to take the bento I made for today and placed it beside one bought from the store, would both of these be given the same score? The prosecution hesitated to speak. Got you. That's right! A convenience store bento doesn't even come close to a homemade one. No matter how badly made it is, it has far more spirit than a bento that you just bought would ever have. You see, that spirit is being graded, meaning the spirit the cook put into the bento has already reached the recipients. Admit it! With those impactful words drawn in the air behind me, I pointed my finger. The girls, led by Rena, broke into applause. Some of the boys were admitting it too.
I'll admit it.
You admitted it? You admitted it, right? Then let's move to why a convenience store bento has no spirit in it. What exactly is the spirit in a bento in the first place?
Objection! Maebara-san is trying to deceive the court by using abstract expressions.
Objection overruled. This sounds interesting, so listen until he's done.
Got them. Now I'll show you two the difference between us. Your Honor, I'd like to call Miss Rika Furude to the stand as a witness.
Me?
Even for Rika-chan, that must have seemed like a bolt from the blue. There's no doubt that she never dreamed the point of my spear would be aiming at her. But Rika-chan, you said it before. For this showdown, it doesn't matter. Rika Furude-san, your bento today was very well made. It looks delicious.
Me?
Yes. Sotoko and Rika-chan's bentos had been made of half of Tomura-kun's and Okumura-kun's. The prosecutors' faces turned pale, but they were too late. Rena, would you bring Okumura-kun's bento over here?
Huh? Okay, sure.
Your Honor, my bento has no relevance to this case.
Overruled.
Your Honor, I submit Okumura-kun's bento box as evidence. Look at it. Look at what's inside.
There's only half in there.
It's not about whether there's half. Please, look a little more closely. See?
They're exactly the same!
Your Honor, you've seen it. Miss Rika Furude's bento is stolen from Okumura-kun's. There is no way such a thing could have spirit in it.
No, but that's just a coincidence.
It's already obvious. Spirit. It's a game of catch between the giver and the receiver. The bento box, then, is the ball. That bento was something Okumura-kun was given from mother to son. That means Okumura-kun is the only one who can feel the spirit from this bento box. Now that it's been disturbed and been stolen, it no longer has that spirit. Dun dun dun! Yeah, that did it!
Huh? What? Is that true? Rika-chan, is that true?
Me? Nipa?
I see how it is.
Mion, the judge, folded her arms and began to hum. I couldn't even take a guess as to what Mion was laughing about. Frankly, I didn't know whether I would win or lose.
Okay. Before announcing my judgment, I'll start from the top.
Shh. The entire classroom quieted.
First, from an objective standpoint, there is no doubt that the bento of the accused, Keiichi Maebara, must be seen as poorly made. This is something that the grading results clearly display.
Gah.
But, as Kei-chan said, cooking is not all about taste. The spirit put into it should be considered subtle seasoning. For grading, though, that would only amount to a few points. It's so subtle that it's not enough to alter the results.
Grr.
Now then, I'd like to mention the original reason for today's bento showdown. What was the reason for it? That's right. We started it to see whether the accused, Keiichi Maebara, could cook for himself and to measure the result.
Yeah, that's right. Keiichi-kun did make his own bento.
Ugh. That stung my conscience a bit. But for the showdown, it didn't matter.
So, the whole basis behind this showdown was to cook a meal for yourself. In other words, whether or not the meal was homemade. Rika-chan neglecting to do that is a much bigger problem than how good her bento is. In other words, is she disqualified?
Nipa?
Rika-chan let out a "Nipa?" looking as though she had prepared herself for this outcome. Don't take it personally, Rika-chan. At our club, things like that don't matter.
Keiichi did well, like I thought. You tried your hardest until the very end.
Rika-chan demanded I lower my head, then she pet it.
With that over with, this case is closed. Today, last place goes to Rika Furude!
Whoa!
That miraculous turnaround. And last place went to Rika-chan, the one everyone had least expected. The whole classroom went wild.